Thom Hartmann here on the news. You need to know this. The Occupy Wall Street movement swelled to at least 20,000 people yesterday as demonstrators peaceably marched through Manhattan alongside throngs of unionized workers. But as the sun went down and demonstrators attempted to take their march to Wall Street, another police crackdown ensued. Using pepper spray and swinging batons, police prevented protesters from accessing Wall Street, and they also closed the Wall Street subway stop. I guess that's what the banksters bought when J.P. Morgan's CEO Jamie Dimon ordered a $4.6 million donation contribution to the New York Cops Family and Party Fund, tax-deductible and thus paid for by you and me. All in all, dozens were reportedly arrested, capping off a tumultuous 18-straight-day occupation in Lower Manhattan. But the movement marches on. Another huge demonstration is happening today, this one taking place in the streets of the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. At least one concrete reform could come out of this outrage against Wall Street, and that could be a financial transaction tax. Congressman Peter DeFazio and Senator Thom Hartmann have introduced legislation to implement a small tax, tiny tax on all stock trades. The tax will help curb excessive speculation and gambling on Wall Street, exactly what crashed our economy 3 years ago in the last year of Bush's administration. Not only that, the tax will help reduce our deficit, bringing in $150 billion a year, and it will keep the robots at bay. Most of the stocks traded on Wall Street today are through robot computers making millions of split-second trades throughout the day. So if each one of those trades are now taxed, then we can cut down on the dangers of high-frequency trading. Both France and Germany have embraced similar taxes over the screams of their banksters, and the United States used to have a similar tax in place through the middle part of the 20th century when our national economy was thriving. National Nurses United, the nation's largest nurses union, is also on board with bringing back the financial transaction tax. Now all we need to do is get the Wall Street bought-off Republicans on board. In the best of the rest of the news, Steve Jobs died yesterday at 56. As the founder of Apple and the co-inventor of the gadgets that many Americans have on their desks and in their pockets, Jobs was a smart designer and businessman who made additional billions moving Apple's manufacturing offshore, even though Apple would have still been a very profitable company if they did their manufacturing here in the United States. But Jobs was a businessman, not an advocate for working people. He even went so far as to say that K through 12 teachers unions are, to quote him, off the charts crazy. Nonetheless, Apple is a good friend and colleague with Wall Street and the big media corporations in America and has a very expensive PR department. So look for lots of Steve Jobs coverage in the mainstream media that fails to mention his dislike of unions or of American manufacturing. Republicans around the country are passing strict voter ID laws that they say will stop voter fraud, something that happens less often than people being hit by lightning. But as we just learned in Tennessee, where one such law was passed, the only thing they're stopping is poor, elderly, and minority people from voting. 96-year-old Dorothy Cooper applied for a new voter ID but was denied because she didn't have a driver's license or a marriage certificate. Cooper has voted in every single election except one since she became of age 78 years ago. But under these new laws, she and about 5 million other eligible voters around the nation, according to the Brennan Center for Justice, will be turned away from the polls in next year's election. Now that Herman Cain is surging in the polls for the Republican nomination, it's worth taking a look at some of the policies he's proposing, in particular his 999 plan he constantly pushes. That's exactly what the Center for American Progress did. Take a look at it. Cain's plan implements a 9% flat income tax on all Americans, a 9% corporate tax, and a 9% sales tax. That translates into a 900% tax increase on the poorest Americans, as well as a substantial tax increase on middle-class Americans. But for the richest Americans, it's a massive tax cut. In fact, the wealthiest 1% would see their average tax rate fall from 28% down to 11%. But that's not the worst of it. Cain's 999 plan would explode the deficit, creating the largest deficit imbalances in the history of this nation since World War II. The Vice President for Economic Policy at the Center for American Progress described the plan as the biggest tax shift from the wealthy to the middle class in the history of taxation ever, anywhere, and it would bankrupt the country. Turns out the 999 plan isn't a plan for prosperity in America. It's a poison pill that will economically destroy America. Sarah Palin can no longer pretend she's running for president. She officially announced yesterday that she's out of the race. And a new book hitting shelves by former McCain campaign staffer Nicole Wallace, entitled It's Classified, might explain why Palin's not running. In the book, Wallace asserts that Palin is, quote, mentally ill, end quote, and that she was, quote, incapable of performing even the most basic tasks required of her job as McCain's running mate, end quote. But the most shocking detail of the book is the McCain advisors were actually trying to figure out a way to keep Palin from being sworn in as vice president if McCain won. Then again, the odd behavior that Wallace describes could just be dismissed as Palin being mavericky. And that's the way it is today, Thursday, October 6th, 2011. I'm Thom Hartmann on the news.